Okay, so first we talk about the CFA's PCP program, Professional Conduct Program. What it is, इसमें it comprises that after you become, qualified CFA, or even when you are in the process of becoming a CFA, there are certain things which you need to follow. जैसे कि they are very strict about how you take up your exam. ठीक है, जैसे if when you will be giving exam, आपको एक स्क्रीन के ऐसे बैठा दिया जाएगा and you'll not be allowed to look left or right. They consider it as a foul practice. तो ये सारा हो गया. फिर after you become a CFA charter holder, कुछ practices होंगे which you will have to follow. You can't take advantage of the fact that other people are giving you money. You have to be ethical. तो पहले में यही बोल रहा है कि PCP program is covered by the CFA Institute bylaws and the rules of procedure for proceedings related to professional conduct. अगर आपके ऊपर मतलब आपके ऊपर अगर ये like if you and me, we are in a company, ठीक है, if you are doing any wrongdoings, I can go to the CFA people and tell them that such and such person is doing something and I think it is unethical. So what will be the process which will be followed? So this reading talks about what will be the process. So after once the inquiry has begun, someone has submitted a complaint against me, या फिर after you have appeared for your exam, they found out कि आपने कोई तरीके से mispractice की है, या फिर your proctor, what happens is जो आपको proctoring कर रहे हैं, जो भी individuals है, they report some violation which has been done by you to the CFA authority, या फिर आपके अगर कुछ कंप्लेंट्स की है और फ्रॉम द अथॉरिटी और योर कंपनी, ये सब प्रोसेस पे अगर आपके अगेंस्ट कुछ फाइल हुआ है कंप्लेंट, तो क्या होगा, CFA पीपल विल मे बी फर्स्ट आस्क यू इन राइटिंग टू जस्टिफाई योरसेल्फ. दे गिव यू अ चांस. अगर उनका मन हुआ, दे मे रिक्वेस्ट कि आप जो भी अपना सिचुएशन था, यू एक्सप्लेन योर सिचुएशन. दे कैन ईदर आस्क यू, और इफ आई हैव मेड द कंप्लेंट अगेंस्ट यू, दे कैन आस्क मी ऑल्सो कि आप in writing describe करो that why have you made the complaint against someone else, because they want to be ethical. मैं हो सकता है because of jealousy that you are getting good promotion, we are in the same company, मैं आपके against कुछ complaint file कर दूँ. तो they also keep these measures कि ऐसा कुछ practice ना हो. तो इसमें यही होता है कि they can interview the subject member or the candidate, they can interview you, or they can interview me that why have I filed the complaints, and then they'll collect all the documents, they'll collect all the evidence, and then they'll finalize the decision. Okay, so the CFA mark this para, what the CFA professional conduct staff may do. So after this, what are the steps that the staff can decide? The staff can decide that, I can just issue a cautionary letter. I can just warn you, give you a warning and leave you. Or I can, discipline you, give you a training, कि these are the wrong practices. If I believe कि आपने कुछ ऐसा किया which is unintentional, you didn't plan to do something, so I'll train you कि these are the standards and you need to keep these in mind. And maybe the professional conduct staff feels that whatever complaint was filed against you, it was inappropriate and no steps need to be taken. Or whether staff finds a violation, they may maybe cancel your license and everything. So these are the steps the staff can take. Sorry. Sure. So now there are we have one standard of professional conduct, and then we have code of ethics. Now this is one point jahan confusion arises, because entirety of ethics is focused on standards of professional conduct. Even when I think of ethics, I'll say such standard we have to mug up those standards. Code of ethics hum log bhul jate hain. And sometimes when question comes regarding code of ethics, we mix them up. तो रिमेंबर कि स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ प्रोफेशनल कंडक्ट जो 7 स्टैंडर्ड्स है उसके पहले देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड कोड ऑफ एथिक्स, जिसमें 6 कोड्स होते हैं. ठीक है. So the first code is, act with integrity, competence, diligence, respect. Integrity means, you need to be very truthful. ठीक है. Competence means you should have the skills and ability to do what you are doing. ठीक है. Like maybe you are skilled in mutual fund investing, या फिर म्यूचुअल फंड्स का जो भी मैनेज करना, यू आर स्किल्ड इन, यू आर नॉट स्किल्ड इन हेज फंड्स, बट आप कोई आया आपके पास एंड दे टोल्ड दैट दे वांट टू इन्वेस्ट इन हेज फंड्स एंड यू टुक देयर मनी एंड स्टार्टेड डूइंग दिस. You don't have the competence of doing it. You don't have the skills and abilities. It doesn't mean कि आप नहीं कर सकते हो. You first train yourself to do it. You get the license which is required, then you can do. You need to be, be honest, competence, diligence, and you should respect your profession. ठीक है? In an ethical manner with the public is, normal people, with your clients who, जो आपके पास आ रहे हैं for investments, prospective clients, जबकि clients बन सकते हैं, employers, your, someone who has hired you, employees, if you are an employer, तो आपके employees, you also need to be honest with your employees, and colleagues in the investment profession and other participants in the global capital market. Is this clear? Okay. इसके बाद आता है place the integrity of the investment profession and interest of clients above their own personal interest. So if you are a charter holder and if you are in the industry, तुम्हारे लिए investment profession and your interest of the client should be before your personal interest. Now what do I mean by this? क्या do I mean कि आपका जो भी personal interest है आप उससे ज्यादा client का interest को value करो? मतलब you don't have a personal life as such, इसका no. What do I mean by this?
Suppose a client wants to invest 70,000, but you feel they should invest 75,000. So you should stick to what they want, not what you think.
No.
Not entirely.
Sort of you can say, but it is like if an IPO is coming, ठीक है? You can't think, पहले तो बात है कि you're not even, कुछ बहुत सारा restrictions होता है to invest in IPO. I'm just taking a example, don't take it in literal sense. Suppose कोई IPO आ रहा है, ठीक है, and then you want to invest in that IPO, but you know that only इतना % shares allocate होगा. You can't place your interest. मतलब आप ये नहीं कर सकते हो कि that you get the shares of the IPO and आपके बाद आप अपने client को preference दो. You would want your client get the preference first, and uske baad, if there's a chance of getting shares, aapko shares. This is what the statement means. Okay. Use so the second statement is clear. Yeah. Use reasonable care and exercise independent professional judgment when conducting investment analysis, making investment recommendations, taking investment actions, engaging in other professional activities. Now this talks about independency. When you are taking a judgment, you shouldn't be influenced by others. Okay? Like if I'm, taking care of my client's money and a colleague comes and tell me that he thinks कि ये वाला company का share इतना से बढ़ेगा, ठीक है? तो I can't be influenced by him or her. I need to first do my own analysis and come to a judgment कि हाँ, and sound analysis independent of what he or she had said. I can't, make एक पहले से प्रेजुडिस की उसने बोला है कि रिटर्न्स होंगे तो पक्का होंगे. आई कांट स्टार्ट माय एनालिसिस विद दैट प्रेजुडिस. ठीक है. आई नीड टू कंसिडर ऑल द आउटकम्स, वर्स्ट पॉसिबल आउटकम्स, बेस्ट पॉसिबल आउटकम्स, एंड देन कम टू अ रीजनेबल जजमेंट वेदर ये स्टॉक इन्वेस्टेबल है या नहीं, एंड देन इन्वेस्ट माय क्लाइंट मनी. So you need to be independent. Practice and encourage others to practice in a professional and ethical manner that will reflect credit on themselves and the profession. Now, you need to be very ethical, and along with you, you need कि आपके surroundings में जो भी लोग हैं, you also make them ethical. If they are doing some wrongdoings, you can complain to the assigned authorities. Promote the integrity and viability of global capital markets for the ultimate benefit of the society. Now, global capital markets जो भी investment पूरा हाँ हाँ जो भी platforms है, be sure you are very true and very truthful to everything which you are doing for the ultimate benefit of the society and not for the CFA charter holders or your clients, for the ultimate benefit of the society. Okay. Now maintain and improve their professional competence and strive to maintain and improve the competence of other investment professionals. Update your skills, abilities, and just stay updated with what is happening in the surroundings. Now, is पे basically जो which I have found questions आता है is they'll give you the standards. This is supposed to promote the integrity and viability of the global capital markets for the ultimate benefit of the society. They'll remove some words कि viability हटा देगा and then they'll give one question and पूरा 1 second option में पूरा ये statement as it is रहेगा. Third statement में maybe they'll remove the for the ultimate benefit of the society and वहाँ पे for the ultimate benefit of your clients लिख देगा. Fourth statement में as such कुछ changes कर देगा. 3 ही होता है ना options. हाँ हाँ 3 होता है. तो ऐसा कुछ चेंजेस कर देगा. ठीक है. तो इसमें क्या होगा, आप स्टेटमेंट अच्छे से याद करो. There is very much learning in ethics. जो भी statements आपको अच्छे से याद होने चाहिए. What is for the ultimate benefit of the society, integrity, viability, global capital markets, ये सब. ठीक है. Learn these 6 standards. उसके बाद standards of professional conduct. Now, this is what I mean by the 7 standards. And we'll be taking up standard 1 today.
And standard 1 has many.
You have any doubt till now? Sure. Let's go to standard 1. See, in this reading 90, all the standards are given. If 1 के अंदर you have A, B, C, D, E, 2 के अंदर you have these, 3 के अंदर ये, and no in-depth explanation is given. ठीक है? So I'll be doing from reading 91, जहाँ पे in-depth explanation of standards are given. Okay? So what I'll suggest is, at one point of time, when you are comfortable with the details over here, make sure that once in a week, you go through these standards. एक reading, it will hardly take you 15 minutes. Just read the 7 standards. उससे क्या होगा, when you are giving the exam, आपको standards mugged up रहेंगे. It will be very easy for you to solve the questions. ठीक है? I'm not going through these. पूरा ये in detail बाद में explain किया जाएगा. तो at the end, when we complete the 7 standards, we'll come to these informations. Okay? क्योंकि mostly अपने बाद में ये सब cover कर चुके होंगे. So standard 1 is about professionalism. Okay? So the first standard under professionalism is knowledge of the law. So what this standard talks about is you should be aware of. 1 second. Can I take a call? You can go for the second. So what the standard talks about is knowledge of the law, that you should be aware of all the laws and the regulations that are binding on you. Okay? Like if we are in India, okay, but we are dealing with the clients who are from UK. So you should be aware of the Indian regulations as well as the UK regulations. After that, you should also be aware of the ethics and the standards of the CFA curriculum. Okay? And you should always follow the stricter laws. Like if suppose something is allowed in India, but it is not allowed in the UK regulations, so you can't do that thing. So the stricter thing needs to be followed. You can't find the loophole that India may it is allowed, so I'll be doing it. Okay? And if something is allowed in India and if something is allowed in UK, but it is not allowed in the CFA curriculum, so you cannot do that. So you will always have to see what is the strictest standard. So this is meant by the knowledge of the law. Members and candidates. So every standard will start with members and candidates. It is for members, which is like who are already, done with CFA, and candidates, which we are giving the exams. Members and the candidates must understand. They must understand what is written in the standard, what is written in the laws, rules, and regulations, and they must comply. They must follow what is written in the laws, all the applicable. What do we mean by all? अब जहाँ जहाँ पे भी कर रहे हो, if a client is from UK or US, अब वहाँ का laws, if you are in India doing everything, तो आपको इंडिया का भी करना होगा. All applicable laws, rules, regulations, including the CFA Institute Code of Ethics. Code of Ethics is the 6 standards which we talked about, and then standards of professional conduct are these 7 standards of any government. Can be any government, regulatory organization. Like if along with CFA you have done CA, so in CA there are many standards which you need to follow as a CA professional. You also need to follow those standards. अगर CA में कुछ strict मांग रहा है आपसे, you need to follow that. You can't say कि CFA या फिर दोनों जगह पे ऐसे standard ठीक है. Licensing agency or professional association governing their professional activities. In the event of conflict, अगर कुछ conflict आता है, members and candidates must comply with a more strict law, rule or regulation. Members and candidates must not knowingly participate or assist in and must dissociate from any violations of such laws, rules or regulations. If you know that your company is doing any wrongdoings, okay, what can your course of action be as an employee? You can go to the supervising authority and tell that person कि ऐसा ऐसा हो रहा है, and if they don't follow it, maybe you can follow what is given in the company's procedure. Either you want to move up a hierarchy, board of directors के पास जाके आपको complaint करनी है, and if no one hears कि company में ये एक establish ही कर दिया है कि they will follow this practice. Suppose insider trading is not allowed, but if company is doing that, so what can be your next step? At very extreme cases, you can be asked to resign. It is advisable that you resign and you dissociate yourself from that entity. Okay, and if you know that there are marketing materials, roaming around in your surroundings, this you guarantee 12% return, you guarantee 15% return, but you know कि उसपे जो भी claim कर रहे हैं, those are not. Do you dissociate, and your name is there in the marketing material? Do you need to dissociate yourself from the marketing materials? So this is what the standard talk about. First is that you need to comply all the laws, rules, and regulations, and whenever there is conflict, always follow the strictest law, and always whenever you find any wrongdoings, you dissociate yourself from that. मे बी बहुत सारे ऐसे चांसेस होगा कि आप अननोइंगली उस चीज का पार्ट हो. इफ दैट इज द केस, आपको मे बी एग्जाम्प्ट कर सकते हैं, बट इफ यू नो कि ऐसा ऐसा हो रहा है, यू नीड टू डिसोशिएट योरसेल्फ. तो गो थ्रू दिस पैरा व्हिच इज देयर इन द ब्लैक. दिस now we have recommendations over here for members and for firms. Okay, something which can be very confusing is कि अगर वो लोग recommendations को as ऐसा करते कि CFA Institute wants you to do something. ठीक है, CFA Institute doesn't want you to do everything. It is recommended कि आप ये सारा practice follow करो. तो ये इधर पे कंफ्यूज करते हैं that whether it is recommended to do या फिर एक प्रायोरिटी बना दी कि आपको करने होगा. जैसे इस लॉ में जो लिखा हुआ है you have to do this, ये वाला चीज it is a must, पर ये जो है ये सारा चीज are recommended. तो जो recommendation क्या है for members, you always encourage your employee to uphold all the laws, rules, regulations जो भी है follow करो. Keep your employees updated. Again, it is not mandatory for you कि आप अपने employer को जाके बोलो कि ये laws, rules, regulations चल रहा है. You maintain a handbook, give it to the employee so that we are aware of everything. It is not a must practice, but it is recommended कि आप ऐसा करो. ठीक है? What is your compliance procedure of the employer? आप जिस कंपनी में काम कर रहे हो, what is the procedure they are following? उन लोग का क्या laws, rules, regulations, वो लोग कितना follow कर रहे हैं, आप उसको review करो. It is not a must, but it's a good practice that you do it. ठीक है? You keep all the current laws, rules, regulations. आप as a member आप अपने employer को encourage करो कि जो भी updated copies आप अपने पास रखो. ठीक है, ये हो गया. अब कभी भी आप एक लीगैलिटी केस में आप स्टक हो जाते हो कि व्हाट शुड यू डू, तो यू शुड कंसल्ट योर सुपरवाइजर, लॉयर, कंप्लायंस पर्सन, जिसके पास भी आपको जाना है, यू कंसल्ट देम. ठीक है, व्हेन dissociating from violations, keep records. It is always advised that you keep records of everything. आपको अगर लग रहा है कि यहाँ पे कुछ वायलेट हो रहा है, तो इन ऑर्डर टू गिव प्रूफ्स, अगर आपसे, जैसे मैंने बोला ना, अगर पीसीपी होता है प्रोफेशनल कंडक्ट प्रोग्राम, तो अगर आप कुछ कंप्लेंट कर रहे हो तो आपको भी सीएफए इंस्टीट्यूट आके क्वेश्चन कर सकता है. तो यू कीप योर डॉक्यूमेंट्स रेडी कि अगर आपको क्वेश्चन हो तो आप प्रूफ सबमिट कर सको. ठीक है, that there is no requirement in the standards to report wrongdoers, but local may require it. Members are strongly encouraged to report violations to CFA Institute PCP. Now, what do you mean by this? एक मैंने बोला था, whenever you find कि कुछ wrong doings हो रहा है, you dissociate yourself from it. आप अपना नाम मिटा दो. But it is not mandatory कि आप जाके उनको report करो. It is strongly encouraged कि आप ये करो. The word is strongly encouraged. But if you don't want to do it, you don't want to create harm to yourself or to your career, you dissociate from that activity. If required, you give a resignation. But it is not mandatory कि आप उनको जाके report करो. But again, अगर आपका local law आपको बोल रहा है ऐसा करने, that you'll have to strict the law follow करना. The recommendation for firms: have a code of ethics, provide the employees with all the laws, rules and regulations, and अगर कुछ violations आ रहा है तो उसका procedures आपके पास established होना चाहिए. Any doubt? उसके बाद we have independence and objectivity. Just read this. This is the blue portion. Now it talks about independence and objectivity. ठीक है, you should be independent when you make your decisions. Just suppose you are someone who rate companies, तो ना रेटिंग आता है A++ होगा या वो आपका काम वो है करना. ठीक है, तो you shouldn't accept gifts or compensations from company ताकि वो आपका ratings पे influence हो जाए. Because see, when you are giving a rating to a company, बहुत सारे लोग का investments are dependent on it. ठीक है, पीपल सी कि उस कंपनी का क्या रेटिंग चल रहा है एंड उस हिसाब से दे समटाइम्स इन्वेस्ट. तो यू कांट डू अनजस्टिस टू पीपल. तो तुम्हारा जो भी रिकमेंडेशंस है उस पर डिपेंड नहीं करना चाहिए. यू शुडंट बी इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय पीपल. ठीक है, यू कांट एक्सेप्ट गिफ्ट्स, कंपनसेशन फ्रॉम योर क्लाइंट्स जिससे आपका डिसीजंस इम्पैक्ट हो. जैसे कि इट इज अलाउड टू एक्सेप्ट गिफ्ट्स एंड कंपनसेशन फॉर क्लाइंट्स, स्मॉल अमाउंट ऑफ गिफ्ट, बट यू हैव टू रिपोर्ट टू योर एम्प्लॉयर. you accepted such and such gifts, पर if you believe कि वो gift लेने से your future performance उससे impact होगा, जैसे कि आप सारा clients जो आपके other clients है, they will be at a disadvantage because of this compensation. Suppose आपका एक client, you performed good for them and they are offering you, telling you कि if you keep doing it, तो मेरा जो भी returns आएगा उसमें से 15% is yours. What you'll be doing is आप उनका portfolio पे ज्यादा focus करोगे and not on the other clients. तो उससे आपके other clients एक disadvantage state पे आ रहे हैं. तो गिफ्ट ऐसा हो सकता है जिससे आपके दूसरे क्लाइंट्स एक को इफेक्ट ना आए, इम्पैक्ट ना आए, ठीक है. ये इसके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. फिर जैसे एनालिस्ट में फेस, आई रीडिंग द ब्लैक वर्जन, एनालिस्ट में फेस प्रेशर और रिसीव इंड्यूसमेंट्स टू गिव सिक्योरिटी, स्पेसिफिक रेटिंग, टू सेलेक्ट certain outside managers or vendors, or to produce favorable or unfavorable research and conclusions. ठीक है. Members who allow the investment recommendation or analysis to be influenced by such pressures or inducements will have violated the requirement. So you cannot get your recommendation influenced. Okay? This is, I talked about IPOs. Allocating shares in oversubscribed IPOs to personal accounts is a violation. Okay? It is a violation under which standard? ये बहुत ही ऐसा क्वेश्चन है जो आता है. तो अगर आप शेयर्स एलोकेट कर रहे हो एक ओवर सब्सक्राइब्ड आईपीओस में टू योर पर्सनल अकाउंट, या आपका इंडिपेंडेंस एंड ऑब्जेक्टिविटी स्टैंडर्ड को वायलेट कर रहा है. बहुत सारा चीज ऐसा देखोगे जो आप इन फ्यूचर आएगा जो दो स्टैंडर्ड मिलके वायलेट होगा. यू ऑल्सो हैव टू कीप, इसीलिए मैंने बोला जस्ट कीप गोइंग थ्रू. जैसे आपने 4 स्टैंडर्ड कर रहे हैं, तो इफ बाय नेक्स्ट वीक व्हेन यू कम, I'll obviously tell you what you have to do. I want you to solve the questions, and when you come, I want you to just go through the blue writings and come, ताकि आपको याद रहे कि पहले अपनी क्या बात की. ठीक है. तो because when you'll be proceeding with the other standards, आप पीछे वाला भूलते जाओगे. You'll not be able to link. ठीक है. Normal business entertainment is permitted, which I told that normally compensation gifts आप accept कर सकते हो. Members who accept, solicit, or offer things of value that could be expected to influence the members or others' independence or objectivity are violating the standard. एक गिफ्ट उस लेवल पे आप एक्सेप्ट कर सकते हो जब तक आपका इंडिपेंडेंस ऑब्जेक्टिविटी वायलेट नहीं होता. Gifts from clients are considered less likely to compromise independence and objectivity than gifts from other parties. Client gifts mostly acceptable होता है अगर आप good returns ले रहे हो, तो वो independence और objectivity को कम impact करता है. But again, जो भी gifts है, you have to disclose it to the members, employer prior to acceptance. आप accept करने से पहले report करो. But if it was not possible to report it prior to acceptance, आप after acceptance आपको जरूर करना है.
Gifts from clients are considered less likely to compromise independence and objectivity than gifts from other parties.
Yeah. You have clients. ठीक है. After that, you have brokers. Brokers.
What is it?
Client is someone who is giving you the money to invest.
So they okay,
Huh?
you can't do anything about it. Well, you can't do anything about it if they give you a gift.
Yeah, see, if they're giving you a gift, ठीक है, so maybe you have done good returns for them in the past. So they're just giving you a gift in good spirit. So that is fine. But if they're giving you a gift, जैसे I told you कि आप इतना returns कमाते हो, it's an example. हो सकता है कि मैं जो example ले रही हूँ उसको, ethics is all about how you frame. आपको बस you have to get in the laws. तो हो सकता है कि मैं जो एग्जाम्पल ले रही हूँ उसमें वो लोग रिटर्न्स कम करके बोल दे कि एक बहुत ही नॉर्मल सा रिटर्न दे दे कि आपका, मैं जो आप रिटर्न्स कमा रहे हो उससे 1% आपका, उसके बाद एक लॉजिकल एक्सप्लेनेशन दे दे कि ऐसा हो सकता है. You have to follow what is written in the question. So don't go by this example. But जैसे कि आपका क्लाइंट आपको बोले कि you have done a good, you have maintained a good return for me. तो आप अब मेरे पोर्टफोलियो में जो भी रिटर्न्स होगा, you'll get 15% of it, and you start giving all the good assets, जो भी stocks, अच्छा जो भी investments आ रहे हैं, to that client's portfolio, ताकि आपको पता है कि you are इधर से और जो भी clients उधर से आपको एक fixed income मिलेगा, but इधर you are getting it's benefiting you too. जो भी returns होगा, you are part of it, so you will focus more on that client. तो उससे आपका दूसरा क्लाइंट डिसएडवांटेज पे आ रहा है. तो एज लॉन्ग एज आपके दूसरे क्लाइंट्स को इम्पैक्ट नहीं आ रहा, आपके एम्प्लॉयर को इम्पैक्ट नहीं आ रहा, आपके फर्म को इम्पैक्ट नहीं आ रहा है, it's good to go. You can take gifts from clients. But अगर इधर पे कुछ इम्पैक्ट आ रहा है, then it's unethical. ठीक है, तो वही बोलते हैं कि क्लाइंट्स अगर कुछ आपको गिफ्ट दे रहा है तो इट्स नॉर्मल, यू कैन एक्सेप्ट, बट यू हैव टू inform your employer before accepting the gift, and if you can't, then after accepting it. But you have to inform. ठीक है, members may prepare reports paid for by the subject if compensation is yeah. Now what is when you sometimes analysts, they have to prepare reports on companies, what is the company doing, analyze their financial statements, everything. तो कंपेंसेशन हो सकता है कि वो कंपनी बहुत टाइम पे आपको कंपेंसेट कर रही है फॉर इट. ठीक है, तो कंपेंसेशन शुड बी अ फ्लैट रेट. इट शुडंट बी ऑन द बेसिस आपका बोनस, आपका रिपोर्ट का कंक्लूजन क्या है. जैसे इफ आई टेल यू कि अगर रिपोर्ट का कंक्लूजन ऐसा ऐसा आया, अगर मेरा बैलेंस शीट आप इतना दिखाया, हाँ हाँ वैसे तो अगर वो फ्लैट एक फिक्स्ड रेट आप डिस्कस नहीं की हो, और अगर आप उस बेसिस पे अपना डिसीजन रिपोर्ट बना रहे हो, व्हेन यू गेट वेरिएबल रेट्स, तो आपका रिपोर्ट हमेशा उससे इन्फ्लुएंस होगा. तो अगर इट्स एडवाइजेबल कि आप रिपोर्ट्स पे कोई कंपेंसेशन लो ही ना, बट इफ यू आर टेकिंग, इट शुड बी अ फ्लैट फिक्स्ड रेट irrespective of what your conclusion is. Members may prepare reports paid for by the subject firm if compensation is a flat rate, not tied to the conclusions of report, and if the fact that the research is issuer paid is disclosed. अब अगर issuer paid मतलब अगर आपको firm पे कर रहा है to prepare the reports ऐसा ऐसा करके, कि आप and the fact अगर आप उस फर्म से compensation ले रहे हो to make the reports, then you will also have to disclose कि आपने 10% इतना रिटर्न लिया था to make that report, so that जो भी वो रिपोर्ट को पढ़ रहा है उसको एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो कि आप कितने इंडिपेंडेंट थे while making the report. So you will also have to disclose your report. Accepting compensation that is dependent on the conclusions, recommendations, or market impact of the report, and failure to disclose that research is issuer paid are violence of the standard. You'll have to accept a flat rate, and you'll also have to mention कि ये issuer paid report था. Those were the recommendations.
I didn't understand why.
Yeah, I'll be coming to it. Now, recommendation for members is members should pay for their own travel to company events or tours when practicable, and limit use of corporate aircraft to trips for which commercial travel is not alternative. Now, इसमें क्या हो रहा है? when you're going to a corporate event for a company, say if you're an analyst and a company is inviting all the analysts to an event to showcase what they have done or what are the future prospects, you should pay for your own travel and you shouldn't be dependent on what that company is offering. ठीक है? या तो उससे क्या होता है कि when अगर आप ट्रैवल कर रहे हो एंड आप उस कंपनी का कंपेंसेशन पे जा रहे हो, उस कंपनी के पेड होटल्स पे जा रहे हो, तो इन अ वे यू आर एक्सेप्टिंग समथिंग फ्रॉम दैट कंपनी. तो इन अ वे आप उसके बारे में जो प्रपोज लिखोगे तो दैट विल गेट इम्पैक्टेड. इन अ वे दैट कंपनी हैड पेड यू समथिंग. तो आप लायबल हो उस कंपनी का बिकॉज यू हैव टेकन मनी फ्रॉम देम. बट बहुत सारे ऐसा केसेस होता है when the company is in a, ये एक क्वेश्चन था कैफे में, L2 के ethics में था, when the company is in an isolated position, ठीक है, जहां पे you have to take the charter flight, company had paid for all the analysts to come, सेम ही चार्टर फ्लाइट, आपके लिए कोई स्पेशल ट्रीटमेंट नहीं दिया कंपनी, आपके लिए कुछ अलग सा चार्टर फ्लाइट मंगाया. कंपनी डिडंट डू दैट फॉर ऑल द एनालिस्ट. दे हैड बुक्ड द चार्टर फ्लाइट बिकॉज वो बहुत आइसोलेटेड पोजीशन पे था, कंपनी बहुत लोकेशन पे था, तो दैट इज एक्सेप्टेबल. तो दे शुड लिमिट the use of corporate aircrafts to trips for which commercial travel is not alternative. This is what is meant by this. Understood? Recommendations for firms?
Yeah, I understand.
By token items, it is meant or small value items. So standard C, then blue वाला part, misrepresentation. इसमें you have two things. You shouldn't be misrepresenting anything about your investment analysis, recommendations, actions. कि आप misrepresentation में क्या आ गया कि you are following such and such, process to calculate your returns. आप क्या कर रहे हो, आप एक पिछले 2-3 years का अपना जो भी आपने इन्वेस्टमेंट्स किए हैं वो रिपोर्ट से आप अपना एक कंक्लूजन दे रहे हो कि ऑन एन एवरेज आई have earned 12% returns over the past 10 years. तो ये मिसरिप्रेजेंटेशन होगा क्योंकि आपने तो पिछले 2-3 साल का ही सिर्फ अपना रिपोर्ट्स एनालाइज करके वो कंक्लूजन निकाला. ठीक है. द सेकेंड थिंग इज यू शुडंट प्लेजरिज्म इज नॉट. जैसे कि आप दूसरे कंपनीज का अगर आप कुछ कोट कर रहे हो, यू विल हैव टू मेंशन कि आपने उधर से कुछ उठाया। अब इधर पे जो भी गवर्नमेंट साइट्स पे अवेलेबल है, अगर आप वहां से कुछ उठा रहे हो तो दैट इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड कि आप उधर पे भी मेंशन करो। तो मिस रिप्रेजेंटेशन इज आप कुछ गलत रिप्रेजेंट नहीं कर सकते।
So if suppose in a span of 10 years I earn 15% returns, but I'm showcasing and I'm showing that I earned only 10% returns, so does that count? Is you understand?
Yeah, but actually अगर तुम अच्छे से सोचो, no one will do that. 10%. Question is valid. It is
the okay, yeah, incentive and
it is misrepresenting. अगर आप misrepresentation ऐसे भी हो सकता है कि you are taking out, you are calculating आप सिर्फ good portfolios, आपका जो भी bad portfolios है आप उसको हटा दे रहे हो। जब बहुत टाइम ऐसा होता है कि there are some bad portfolios तो after a point of time zero पे आ गया तो उसको हटा दिया गया उस investments पे। तो वो वाला इन्वेस्टमेंट्स ऐसे अभी है नहीं एट प्रेजेंट, बट विद इन द स्पैन ऑफ 5 years एक पॉइंट पे वो इन्वेस्टमेंट्स आपके पास था एंड यू वर टेकिंग केयर ऑफ दैट। बट व्हेन यू आर मेकिंग द रिपोर्ट, आप वो बैड इन्वेस्टमेंट्स को, जो इन्वेस्टमेंट्स अब नहीं रहा है, यू आर नॉट इवन कंसिडरिंग दैट व्हाइल मेकिंग दैट रिपोर्ट। तो यू हैव टू टेल कि ऐसा ऐसा इन्वेस्टमेंट्स वाज देयर इन द पास्ट, बट ऐसा ऐसा हो गया उसके साथ। तो व्हाटएवर यू आर टेलिंग, यू कांट बी मिसरिप्रेजेंटिंग एनीथिंग व्हेन यू आर गिविंग आउट रिकमेंडेशंस। उस पे भी आप कुछ भी मिसरिप्रेजेंट नहीं कर सकते। यू हैव टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट एंड टेल एग्जैक्टली। कुछ भी assumptions ये वो उल्टा घुमा के कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट नहीं कर सकते। Misrepresentation includes knowingly misleading investors. You do it, knowingly. आपको पता है कि or what if you do unknowingly? So you are advised to know the good practices. कि अगर आप ऐसा कर रहे हो तो आपको ऐसा दिखाना चाहिए, आप ऐसा कर रहे हो तो आपको ऐसा दिखाना चाहिए। अब इन गुड फेथ, अगर इफ यू हैव ऑल द डॉक्यूमेंट्स टू प्रूव योर इनोसेंस, तो यू कैन से कि ठीक है अननोइंगली हुआ था। अगर अननोइंगली हुआ था तो देयर मे बी नॉलेज ऑफ द लॉ में चला जाता है, यू वरंट अवेयर ऑफ द नॉलेज ऑफ द लॉ, उधर पे आप उस पे चला जाएगा, वो इसके अंदर नहीं आएगा। पर तो आपको लॉ का ही नॉलेज नहीं था, रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस का नॉलेज था, बट यू आर सपोज टू नो द रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस। अगेन स्टैंडर्ड 1 में ऐसा नहीं बोलता है कि आपको अंडर द सन जो भी ऐसा पता होना चाहिए, ऐसा कुछ नहीं बोल रहा है, बट जो जो आपके ऊपर एप्लीकेबल आपको वो सब पता होना चाहिए। ठीक है, तो मिसरिप्रेजेंटेशन इंक्लूड्स मिसलीडिंग, नोइंगली मिसलीडिंग द इन्वेस्टर्स, omitting relevant information, जो भी information जैसे I told you कि ये वाला ये सारा portfolio एक टाइम पे existent था but it has shut down, उसमें negative returns था, तो I am omitting that information. It is very important that the investors know कि क्या क्या हो रहा था. Presenting selective data to mislead investors, मैं सिर्फ अपना अच्छा अच्छा stocks उठा के आपको दिखा रही हूँ, अच्छा अच्छा portfolios उठा के. And plagiarism. So these 4 things, mark these 4 things. Plagiarism is using reports, forecasts, models, ideas, charts, graphs, or spreadsheets which are created by others without giving them the credit. Now, if you are at a company, ठीक है, आपने वहाँ पे कुछ model बनाया and you leave that company and you go to another company and you use the same model, you can't do it. It is plagiarism. Why? Because जो आपने, you can say कि model तो आपने ही बनाया था, but आपने जो model बनाया वो company का property था. When you move to another company, you can maybe make the model again from your memory, ये सब करके आप फिर से model create कर सकते हो, but आप exactly same model नहीं use कर सकते just because आपने उधर पे बनाया था. ठीक है, crediting the source is not required when projections, statistics and tables from recognized financial and statistical reporting services are taken. ठीक है, कुछ बहुत पब्लिकली अवेलेबल साइट्स पे अगर वो इन्फॉर्मेशन अवेलेबल है, देन यू डोंट हैव टू क्रेडिट। जैसे गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया के साइट पे कुछ अवेलेबल है, सेबी से आपने कुछ उठाया, तो ये सब आपको नहीं करना पड़ेगा। When using models developed or research done by other members of the firm, it is permitted to omit the names of those who are no longer with the firm as long as a member does not represent work previously done by others as is allowed. Now, when you are, at a firm, आप कुछ मॉडल्स या फिर कुछ भी रिसर्च यूज कर रहे हो जो बहुत लोगों ने मिलके बनाया, बट समवन हैज लेफ्ट द कंपनी, तो इट इज अलाउड कि यू नो लॉन्गर पुट दैट पर्सन्स नेम इन द रिपोर्ट्स, बट यू कांट रिप्रेजेंट कि जो एक ग्रुप वर्क था वो आपने अकेले किया। तो आप ऐसा नहीं बोल सकते हो कि जितना भी नॉलेज उस रिसर्च में या उस मॉडल में आपने दिखाया है वो आपका अकेले का। पर इफ समवन हैज लेफ्ट द कंपनी, इट इज अलाउड कि आप उसका नाम उधर से हटा। Actions that would violate the standard include presenting third party research as your own without attribution to the source, guaranteeing a specific return on securities that do not have explicit guarantee from a government body or financial institution. Why? Because it is a misrepresentation. आप ऐसे बोल रहे हो कि you come and you know इस आप invest करो इस stock पे and you'll be getting for sure 6% within this month, ऐसा, तो this is misrepresentation because you don't know उस stock को कब क्या हो जाएगा. But if it is a government security, तो जैसे अपने बॉन्ड्स पे बात करते हो जो गवर्नमेंट के इशू करता है, तब उस पर बोल सकते हो कि हाँ एज गवर्नमेंट इतने तो बॉन्ड्स देता है तो आपको इतना रिटर्न मिलेगा, तो क्योंकि वो गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से गारंटी है या एक फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन की तरफ से गारंटी है, तब आप ये बोल सकते हो, बट यू कांट से ऑन एनी अदर सिक्योरिटीज, तो आप यू आर मिसरिप्रेजेंटिंग द रिटर्न्स which can be generated. Selecting a valuation service because it puts the highest value on trading on untraded security holdings. You are selecting a method जिसपे आप जब भी अपना रिटर्न्स निकाल रहे हो या वैल्यूएशन निकाल रहे हो अपना पोर्टफोलियो का, जिससे आपका सबसे ज्यादा मैक्सिमम आएगा। देखो बहुत सारा प्रोसेस होता है हर चीज को निकालने का, तो वो वाला मेथड चूज करो जिससे आपका आंसर मतलब आपको जो वैल्यू चाहिए वो सबसे हाईएस्ट आए या आपका लॉस सबसे मिनिमम दिखाए। यू हैव टू रिप्रेजेंट ऑल द मेथड्स कि इस मेथड से मेरा ये आ रहा है, इस मेथड से ये आ रहा है, इस मेथड से आ रहा है। आप अपने मन से एक सेलेक्टिव प्रोसेस फॉलो नहीं कर सकते, ठीक है। Selecting a performance benchmark that is not comparable to the investment strategy performed. Now, suppose I am, investing in traditional bonds, ये वो, ठीक है। और एक और इन्वेस्टमेंट है जो मे बी ऑल्टरनेटिव इन्वेस्टमेंट्स पे होगा, इन्वेस्टिंग इन कमोडिटीज, ये सब पे होगा, और मेरा पास ट्रेडिशनल इन्वेस्टमेंट्स है, तो मैं ट्रेडिशनल इन्वेस्टमेंट्स ऑल्टरनेटिव इन्वेस्टमेंट्स का बेंचमार्क से अपना क्योंकि ऑल्टरनेटिव इन्वेस्टमेंट्स में थोड़ा वेरिएंस ज्यादा होता है कंपेयर टू द ट्रेडिशनल इन्वेस्टमेंट्स, थोड़ा सिक्योरिटी ज्यादा होता है, तो मैं ये नहीं बोल सकती कि सी माय रिटर्न्स आर मोर लेस वेरिएबल देन द ट्रेडिशनल ऑल्टरनेटिव इन्वेस्टमेंट्स। आपको आप जो बेंचमार्क ले रहे हो कंपैरिजन के लिए वो लेजिट होना चाहिए। Presenting performance data or attribution analysis that omits accounts or relevant variables. Again, it means you're just ignoring some portion, or you take selective data and present it. मैंने मुझे बताया कि portfolio बंद हो गया. Offering false or misleading information about the analyst or firm's capabilities, expertise or experience. आप बोल रहे हो कि you have been in the industry for 10 years, but for 10 years you have been only managing traditional form of investing. आपको 2 ही साल हुआ है ऑल्टरनेटिव इन्वेस्टमेंट्स में आने में, पर आप ये मार्केट कर रहे हो कि फ्रॉम 10 years वी आर डूइंग दिस बिजनेस। आप ओपनली ये भी नहीं बता रहे हो कि आपको 2 साल हुआ ऑल्टरनेटिव इन्वेस्टमेंट्स में आए हुए, पर आप हाइड भी कर रहे हो। But you have to be very clear कि from 10 years you have been doing this, और alternative investments में आपको 2 years ही हुआ है, ठीक है। तो you're hiding your capabilities, what you can do, expertise or experience from people. Using marketing materials from a third party that are misleading. Even if you are taking marketing materials from different people, you have to check कि वो जो भी information वो लोग बता रहे हैं वो सही है, ठीक है। Go through recommendations. Everything is clear? Any doubt till now? Okay, so we have two standards left under professionalism. Standard 1D is misconduct. Members and the candidates must not engage in any professional conduct involving dishonesty, fraud, deceit, or commit any act that reflects adversely on their professional reputation, integrity, or competence. What do you mean by this? See, it means basically, आप जो भी your whatever task you're doing, you cannot, you have to be very, ethical on what you're doing. Okay, it doesn't come to your personal life. ठीक है, suppose आप personal life पे personal level पे आप क्या कर रहे हो, that doesn't matter. आपका personal life पे you have been charged with something which is very unrelated to the investment profession. आप drive कर रहे हो, you have been helmet नहीं पहना था आपने, इसको scooty पे हो या आपने belt लिया, that is not related to this. But आप अपने investment profession में क्या कर रहे हो, ये उस पे आता है. ठीक है, you have to be very true to what you're doing. You shouldn't misbehave. Members and must not engage involving. You shouldn't be dishonest. You cannot commit fraud. You cannot cheat other people in your investment profession. The first part here regarding professional conduct is clear. No dishonesty, fraud, or deceit. The second part, while it applies to all conduct by the member, specifically requires the act to reflect adversely on their professional reputation, integrity, or competence. This means, मैंने जो बोला कि वो सारा चीज जो आपके प्रोफेशनल लाइफ पे इम्पैक्ट कर रहा है, नॉट योर पर्सनल लाइफ. ठीक है. The guidance state that members must not try to use this enforcement of the standard against another member to settle personal, political, or other disputes that are not related to professional ethics or competence. Now, this is very important. ये guidance बोलता है कि आपको जैसे PCP हम लोग ने दिया है, professional conduct program. So, in order to settle your, you and me have a fight. ठीक है, कोई भी political opinion पे, personal opinion पे, या you got promotion, I didn't get promotion, तो उसको settle करने के लिए I can't file a, complaint against you. So it is this, you cannot misbehave, you cannot misconduct, you cannot misuse whatever, whatever advantages we have given you. You cannot misuse those. Okay, it is for the good betterment of the investment society as a whole. So आप उसको misuse नहीं कर सकते. Recommendations for firms: develop and adopt a code of ethics that make clear that unethical behavior will not be tolerated. Give employees a list of potential violations, sanctions including dismissal. Check reference for potential employees.
What is the last?
Check references of potential employees. जो भी आपको potential employees है, किसी का CV चल रहा है, interview चल रहा है, वो आपको references क्या दे रहा है? तो होता है ना background checking. Competence. Competence is you should have the required skills, abilities to do the required task. You should maintain the competence necessary to fulfill their professional responsibilities. Okay. Competence means you should have all the abilities, knowledge which is needed. And if you don't have the abilities, knowledge if you need it, you should develop those abilities and knowledge before taking up the next task. Okay. Nature of those abilities, knowledge, it will depend on what type of responsibilities you have. Okay. If someone is, if someone is into alternative investments, उनको alternative investments का पूरा knowledge होना चाहिए. If I am into, traditional investing, मेरे को उसका पूरा knowledge होना चाहिए. If someone is a credit analyst, उसको उस चीज का पूरा information होना चाहिए. तो आपको अपने field में आपको क्या क्या लग रहा है, skills जो भी, वो आपको वो सब पता होना चाहिए. Although competence is necessary to succeed as a financial analyst, negative outcomes do not necessarily imply a lack of competence. Please underline that. Question ऐसे आ सकता है कि if you are generating negative returns, like maybe for 2-3 months, तो क्या आपकी ये standard आपके ऊपर apply करता है, like competence वाला? The answer is no. Competence होना is very important. अगर आप एक financial analyst हो and you have the CFA charterholder and you have done all the readings which is required, आप एकदम updated हो with the curriculum, so you can have negative returns. Market wasn't suitable for investing at that point, तो आपका negative returns हो सकता है. Negative returns doesn't imply कि competence नहीं है, but competence नहीं है तो negative returns होना बहुत possibility है. Once in a while maybe कहीं से भी आप positive return कमा सकते हो, but mostly negative returns रहेगा अगर competence नहीं है तो. If a member or candidate accepts a new or unfamiliar professional role, it is the responsibility to develop the abilities and the skills that the new role calls for. The standard recommends but does not require that members or candidates participate in continuing education. So continuing education is like within 1-2 years में बहुत सारा associations ऐसा होता है जो organize करता है कि skill development whatever is जैसे AI आया तो मे बी AI का एक सेमिनार रख दिया, तो मेंबर रिकमेंड्स की, जैसे CFA भी बहुत सारा सेमिनार्स रखता है कि बस अपडेटेड, तो मेंबर रिकमेंड करता है पर एक मैंडेटरी चीज नहीं है दैट यू शुड पार्टिसिपेट इन दीज कंटिन्यूइंग एजुकेशंस. तो रिकमेंडेशंस क्या है? पार्टिसिपेट इन द कंटिन्यूइंग एजुकेशंस जो भी प्रोफेशनल डेवलपमेंट के लिए अपने कर रहे हैं, अक्वायर मोर प्रोफेशनल डेजिग्नेशंस अलोंग विद CFA. मे बी अगर आप चाहते हो कि आपको CIPM अटेन करना है FRM, तो गेट दो सर्टिफिकेशंस या फिर maybe different certifications like SQL, Power BI, जो भी, to get those certifications, attend all the seminars or conferences which are relevant to what you are doing, or engage in informal self-study, or you can also self-study, informally. You're done with the 5 standards. Let's go through the questions. Coming to module quiz 9.1. First question. In the case of a complaint about a member's professional conduct, CFA Institute PCP Program staff are least likely to review the documents and the records, request an interview with the member or with the party making the complaint, suspend the member's right to use the CFA designation while an investment is in progress. What should be the option? This is regarding the PCP. See? Yeah. Which of the following requirements for members and candidates? Yeah, sure.
If suppose any member is not, they're not following their professional conduct, they're maybe misleading or whatever. So isn't it right to suspend the member's right to use the?
Yeah. See, at the end there's a phrase while an investigation is in progress. So if any member is misusing their powers, but there will be still an investigation. इधर पे investigation is in progress. अगर ऐसा हुआ होता कि investigation हो चुका है, you have come to the conclusion, then it is fair practice that you suspend that member's right to use the CFA designation. But हमेशा एक investigation होगा. The member will be given a chance maybe to speak. Yeah. तो क्योंकि investigation is still in progress लिखा हुआ है, इसीलिए वो wrong option है. Question. Okay, see. We had code of ethics.
Yeah.
And we had standard of professional conduct. Okay. The B and C are covered in standard of professional conduct. Okay. Do not act or cause others to act on material, non-public information. Very famous standard, very, very famous standard. हमेशा इसमें कुछ ना कुछ क्वेश्चन आता है. Distinguish between fact and opinion when presenting investment analysis. ये भी standard of PCP against professional conduct. So first है maintain and improve the professional competence. Mostly इतना vague form में नहीं रहता है. To be honest, options में बहुत अच्छे से explain करेगा, but देखो act with integrity, compliance, diligence, respect. Please,
But it's just जो board of ethics है, some of them are like written in the standard also.
like exactly नहीं रहेगा कुछ भी नहीं रहा है. Yeah, that's what I पहले ही मैंने बोल दिया कि घर पे confusion आती है. So the thing would be आप पहले code of ethics को लगो. उसके बाद standards of professional conduct any way तुमको पूरा याद करना ही है. उसके बिना मतलब देखो ethics में 20% of your questions will be from ethics. ऐसा मतलब उसमें दिया हुआ रहता है proportions में. तो समझ लो अगर 20 भी questions आए तो 2 questions will be from code of ethics. ये वाला chapter 1 से reading 90 से बाकी का 18 will be covering the 7 standards. तो ये याद कर लो पहले. बहुत डिफिकल्ट इसमें से कुछ नहीं आएगा. इसमें से डायरेक्ट आएगा जो आएगा. ठीक है. बस यही 2 क्वेश्चन था इसका. उसके बाद जो क्वेश्चन है वो थोड़ा इस पे है, आगे रीडिंग्स पे है. Standard 1 का है क्या क्वेश्चंस? You want to do standard 2 also? You have that bandwidth. Complete standard 2 also. It's completed. So standard 1 was professionalism and standard 2 is integrity of the capital markets. Professionalism में आपको सिखा रहा था कि आपको laws, rules, regulations पता होना चाहिए. Misconduct के बारे में बताया. You should be competent. You should do this. So उसके बारे में सब कुछ बात किया. ठीक है. Don't accept gifts. आपको एक professionalism, आपका professional conduct कैसा होना चाहिए in the investment business आपको बताया. अब इसमें बता रहे हैं कि आपको कैपिटल मार्केट्स का इंटेग्रिटी प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए आपको क्या क्या करना चाहिए. ठीक है. देयर आर 2 सब लॉज अंडर इट. पहला है मटेरियल नॉन पब्लिक इंफॉर्मेशन. ठीक है. बहुत सारे ऐसे इंफॉर्मेशन होता है जो देखो 2 टाइप ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन होता है. एक होता है नॉन मटेरियल नॉन पब्लिक इंफॉर्मेशन. एक हो गया मटेरियल नॉन पब्लिक इंफॉर्मेशन. व्हाट डू आई मीन बाय नॉन पब्लिक इंफॉर्मेशन? नॉन पब्लिक इंफॉर्मेशन इज व्हिच इज नॉट अवेलेबल विद द कॉमन पीपल. ठीक है. इफ आई एम इन इनसाइडर इंफॉर्मेशन. ठीक है. और मटेरियल क्या हो गया कि अगर मेरे पास वो इंफॉर्मेशन है, जैसे आई नो मर्जर हो रहा है, एक्विजिशंस हो रहा है, अगर मेरे पास वो इंफॉर्मेशन है तो वो मेरा डिसीजन इम्पैक्ट करेगा. ठीक है. और नॉन मटेरियल क्या हो गया कि अगर वो मेरे पास इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं भी है या है भी तो मेरा डिसीजन उससे इम्पैक्ट नहीं होगा. पर मटेरियल इंफॉर्मेशन ऐसा हो गया कि इफ आई एम बाइंग अ स्टॉक और मेरे को वो इंफॉर्मेशन अगर मेरे पास पहले से है कि एक मर्जर होने वाला है, उससे पॉजिटिव इम्पैक्ट आएगा, तो माय डिसीजन विल बी इम्पैक्टेड. तो इसमें बोलता है members of candidates who possesses material non-public information that could affect the value of information investment must not act or cause others to act on the information. You cannot act on the material non-public information. अगर आप एक कंपनी में हो, you know that a merger is about to happen, आप ऐसा नहीं कर सकते हो कि you buying the stock of that company.
So you can't do it.
ऐसे भी illegal है insider trading.
But if it happens,
you cannot, you can't, act on that information. तो वो वाला मैंने ले लिया मर्जर वाला. और भी अगर आपको कुछ पता है कि ऐसा होने वाला है, this company is going to make such and such changes, या ये कंपनी अपना कुछ पॉजिटिव रिजल्ट्स अनाउंस करने वाला है, बट एज एन एनालिस्ट यू नो कि इनका जो भी रिजल्ट्स आए वो पॉजिटिव है, पर जब तक लोगों को नहीं पता है कि उनका रिजल्ट्स पॉजिटिव है, यू कैन नॉट बाय द स्टॉक. एंड यू कैन नॉट ऑल्सो ask others to act on that information. कि मतलब आप suppose you and me are having conversation in this room and there's someone else outstanding there bahar. We didn't know, we were talking कि अच्छा this company is going to do good in the future. We have seen the उसका P&L balance sheet सब हमने देखा, the results would be doing good, and that person heard our conversation and he or she went and bought that stock, bought that stock. तो हम लोग ये भी नहीं कर सकते. तो मटेरियल नॉन, क्योंकि सी इट इज अनफेयर टू अदर्स. तो इससे यही बोलते हैं कि यू कैन नॉट, इफ यू possess a material non public information, you cannot act on it, or you can't cause others to act on that information. Okay. Information is material if its disclosure would affect the price of the security, or a reasonable investor would want the information before making the investment decision. Clear? what is material? Information that is ambiguous as to what it is, as to its likely effect on price may not be considered material. If you're doubtful कि अगर आपके पास information है भी नहीं हो, as such कोई difference नहीं बन रहा, तो it is immaterial.
So information that is beneficial.
Yeah, if it's beneficial, अगर आप एक investment करना चाह रहे हो, उसके पहले अगर आपके पास वो information है, तो it would make sufficient changes to what your course of action would be. Information is non-public until it has been made available to the marketplace. Suppose जैसे इसमें होता है कि बहुत सारा कॉन कॉल में क्या होता है, कॉन्फ्रेंस कॉल में some investors are called and उसमें एक कंपनी बताता है कि हमारा ये कोर्स ऑफ एक्शन होने वाला है. That is again not public. Public is when it is known to everyone. ठीक है. फिर बहुत सारा ऐसा होता है कि एक insider information आया, you are in a group, ठीक है, कुछ भी टेलीग्राम पे या कहीं पे भी एक ग्रुप बना हुआ है अबाउट द ट्रेडिंग्स एंड एवरीथिंग, तो उधर पे एक इन्फॉर्मेशन आया कि सच एंड सच कंपनी इज गोइंग टू डीमर्जर या एक्विजिशन कुछ होने वाला है, बट अगेन इट इज नॉट इन द पब्लिक प्लेटफॉर्म, ये ग्रुप पे आया है और ये एक इनसाइडर इन्फॉर्मेशन, यू कैन नॉट एक्ट ऑन दैट आल्सो. ठीक है. An analyst conference call is not a public disclosure. Selective disclosure of information by corporations creates the potential for insider trading violations. The prohibition against acting on material non-public information extends to mutual funds containing the subject securities as well as related swaps and options contract. So it also extends to the mutual funds. It is a member's responsibility to determine if information she receives has been publicly disseminated prior acting or causing others to act on it. Now, if you know something, then it's your responsibility कि वो information सबके पास पहुंच गया है क्या, तभी you will be acting on it. Some members and candidates may be involved in transactions during which they are provided with material non-public information by firms. Members and candidates may use this information for its intended purpose. मतलब एक आईटी कंपनी आपको आके बता सकता है कि such and such company wants to do this, ये वो, तो you can use that information to do that intended purpose. कि अगर उसको कुछ चीज को acquire करना है तो उसका valuation निकाल के दो, ये वो, तब उस information को use कर सकते हो valuation निकालने के लिए, but you cannot act on that information. आप stock trading नहीं कर सकते हो. Under the so-called mosaic theory, which is very popular, इसमें क्या होता है? You have an information which is material and public, okay, and एक information which is non-material and non-public. You combine those information and you get to a conclusion because of your skills. जैसे कि एक,
But does the non-material information hold that much value as the material information?
it depends on how much skills you have. Like if you are able to link कि material public information में ऐसा information है मेरे पास, suppose if you know कि material public information में it is out that a company is going to demerger, ठीक है, और non-material non-public information में कुछ ऐसा आ गया, कुछ अलग सा कुछ आपको पता चला, ठीक है, आप उधर से लिंक कर रहे हो कि हाँ the company is going to demerger and the company is looking for locations in this place, तो probably demerger हो रहा होगा इसीलिए कुछ, तो आप ऐसा कुछ देख रहे हो, मतलब जो बहुत ही
So the non-material information can be material to some good analysts or some poor analysts.
no. Non-material public information is non-material. You have to combine. It is not material.
Yeah.
आप क्या कर रहे हो? You have good investment skills. आपके पास good analysis skills है. तो कुछ information आपको already पता है. आपको already पता है कि ये सबको पता है वो information. But second information is non-material and non-public. And not everyone knows about it. But even if everyone knows about it, वो लोग उसको कुछ कर नहीं पाएंगे because of the skills. So you club those information and you make a conclusion and then you find कि हाँ ठीक है, this stock is good for investing. This is known as mosaic theory. This is not a violation of the standard. Recommendations for members. Go through the recommendations. I would like to go over the recommendations actually. See, recommendations एक फॉर्म के लिए recommendations होता है कि you separate the departmental, flow of information is not, shouldn't be there. एक डिपार्टमेंट के पास सपोज एक डिपार्टमेंट है विच डील्स विद वैल्यूएशन एंड एवरीथिंग, एक डिपार्टमेंट है जो ट्रेडिंग कर रहा है. तो एक वैल्यूएशन, एक आईबी कंपनी आया, वो बोला कि आई वांट टू अक्वायर दिस, तो वैल्यूएशन वाले डिपार्टमेंट के पास जाएगा. तो दैट डिपार्टमेंट नोस कि आईटी कंपनी क्या है, आईबी कंपनी का क्या रिक्वायरमेंट है. पर इधर पे जो ट्रेडिंग कर रहा है, अगर उनको ये बता देंगे तो दे कैन एक्ट ऑन इट. So it is a good practice to have firewalls or to separate these all the departments you have. ठीक है. Then maintain watch restricted and rumor list. अगर ऐसा कुछ भी information आपके पास है about different companies, then you maintain unrestricted list on that stock. ठीक है. You have to track what your employees are doing. जैसे बहुत सारा analyst जो होता है, for them trading is not allowed. You must have heard. No. जैसे if you're in a company, बहुत सारा company में policy होता है, you can't trade because you are an analyst. So they are not allowed to trade. ठीक है.
But won't analysis skills be for trading?
Like if you're, because when you're analyzing, तो आपके पास companies आ रहा है, तो you have information prior from every prior. क्योंकि आपके पास वो फिर अपना बैलेंस शीट सब लेके आ रहे हैं, तो यू आर एनालाइजिंग, यू आर मेकिंग रिपोर्ट्स. तो बहुत सारे कंपनीज में प्रैक्टिस होता है दैट बहुत सारे कंपनीज में ऐसा प्रैक्टिस होता है कि अगर जो कंपनीज उनके अंडर है आप उसमें ट्रेड नहीं कर सकते हो. बहुत सारे कंपनीज में कंप्लीटली बैन. End out. Now, standard 2B is market manipulation. It's very simple. You cannot manipulate the market. Okay, what do you mean by manipulation? Manipulating the market. You cannot impact the prices in a way that people get confused. Suppose you want to sell the stock in the future and you want कि आप stock का price बढ़ जाए. You would want the same. तो आप एक गलत इंफॉर्मेशन मार्केट पे स्प्रेड करके या फिर एक आर्टिफिशियल स्टॉक का होता है ना, देयर मेनी पीपल एक बल्क में स्टॉक खरीद लेंगे, तो क्या हो जाएगा, मार्केट को लगेगा कि अरे दिस स्टॉक इज वेरी इन ट्रेंडिंग, तो उसका डिमांड बढ़ जाएगा. बट यू आर आर्टिफिशियली क्रिएटिंग दैट डिमांड एंड देन यू सेल इट इन द फ्यूचर. You can't do it. Members and candidates, they must not engage in practices that distort prices or artificially inflate the trading volume with an intent to mislead the market participants. आप आज बहुत सारे स्टॉक्स खरीद रहे हो, ठीक है, इन अ बल्क, तो एक डिमांड गिर जाएगा, बढ़ जाएगा स्टॉक का, तो उससे क्या होगा, पीपल विल बिलीव कि स्टॉक का प्राइस आगे बढ़ने वाला है एंड वो जो सब लेंगे स्टॉक लेंगे वो, तो स्टॉक का प्राइस बढ़ जाएगा एंड देन यू सेल द स्टॉक. सो तुम्हारा मोटिव ये था कि यू वांट टू मिसलीड द पार्टिसिपेंट्स ताकि आप अपना जो भी मोटिव है वो सक्सेसफुल कर पाओ.
This case is it's very a bit vague. जरूरी नहीं है ना कि people who know about the market would make informed decisions.
Yeah, so see, the ethics is for everyone, for who knows about the market and who doesn't know about the market. And if you think clearly, अगर अच्छे से सोचो तो mostly standards is to protect people who doesn't know about the market, जिनके पास इतना knowledge नहीं है. Because who knows the market, उसके पास वो intelligence होगा कि ऐसा नहीं हो रहा. But who doesn't know the market, वही होगा जो herd behavior follow करेगा. Let's do what everyone is doing. तो वो उन लोगों को बच्चे scam 1992 seen, वो artificially वो create करता था volume, so that practice is not allowed. The key point here is that if there's an intent to mislead, if you're doing it, अगर आपका वही practice रहा है, मतलब आपका काम ही वही है, तो it's allowed. But आपका intention ही था to mislead the participant, then it's not allowed. Then you are violating a standard. Of course, spreading false information to affect the prices or volume is a violation of the standard, as it makes trades intended to mislead market participants. Along with artificially creating the volume, you cannot, mislead the market participants. Okay. So
we should talk this.
let's go through these questions. Let's do a thing. Use all these questions. Oh shit. No. It's coughing. I will do the first question.
Yeah.
In situations where laws of a member or candidate's country of residence, the local laws of regions where the member or candidate does business, and the code and standards specify different requirements the member or the candidate must abide by. See. Thus, according to the standard on independence and objectivity, members and candidates may accept gifts or bonuses from clients.
I understand the C.
Okay. So see, we'll discuss B also. May not accept compensation from an issuer of securities and producing in return for producing research on those securities, the flat rate one which we discussed, should consider credit ratings issued by recognized agencies to be objective measures of credit quality. जो
This student that means the
ओके जो क्रेडिट रेटिंग्स जो रिकॉग्नाइज एजेंसीज इश्यूड किए हैं, अगर आप अपना पूरा डिसीजन सोली उस पे ले रहे हो कि इफ मूडी हैज इश्यूड दिस क्रेडिट, इफ मूडी हैज डन दिस, एसएनपी हैज डन दिस, तो पक्का अच्छा ही होगा ये स्टॉक, देन यू आर नॉट बीइंग इंडिपेंडेंट. आप किसी और का पूरा डिसीजंस पे अपना रिकमेंडेशंस वो कर रहे हो, बेस कर. Bill Cooper finds a table of historical bond yields on the website of the US Treasury that supports the work he has done in his analysis and includes the table as a part of his reports without citing the source. Has Cooper violated the code and standards? Yeah. Which of the following statements about the standard on misconduct is most accurate? Misconduct में first we talked about professional activities, फिर PCP वाला point भी था. मिसकंडक्ट में दो चीज के बारे में बात किया था.
but I thought that misconduct applies only to contractors, professional activities and not personal activities.
Yeah, personal activities में नहीं करता, but suppose see, I give you an example कि personal activity पे अगर आप ऐसा ऐसा कुछ कर रहे हो, like if आपका accident कुछ ऐसा होता है तो वो आपका impact नहीं करेगा, but if आप एक personal level पे, लेकिन अगर आप personal level पे bankrupt हो जा रहे हो, तो it will not impact your your professional activity because आप personal level पे bankrupt हो. पर अगर पर्सनल लेवल पे ऐसा कुछ कर रहे हो, like suppose it was an example, if you come to your office and you're very intoxicated, ठीक है, ये पर्सनल डिसीजन हुआ, बट बिकॉज यू आर कमिंग टू द ऑफिस एंड यू आर टेकिंग डिसीजंस, तो यू कैन टेक रॉन्ग डिसीजंस. इसीलिए ऑप्शन बी.
Why not options?
Illegal activity is anything can be illegal, पर उससे वो प्रोफेशनल इम्पैक्ट नहीं आ रहा.
I got B, A and C. I didn't think B.
Neglecting to perform due diligence when required is an example of misconduct में. अगर आप अच्छे से पढ़ोगे तो उसमें था you should be competent, ये वो ऐसा कुछ था misconduct में, ठीक है. और प्रोफेशनल वाला ए वाला समझ आया. तो सी वाला is कि there are many activities which are illegal. Suppose you're a bartender somewhere, ठीक है, but वो उधर पे allowed नहीं है उस region पे, पर you are doing that as a side job, तो वैसे illegal है, but as such professionalism में आपको कुछ नहीं आ रहा, you are doing it to earn more money. ये सब examples आएगा बाद में, that are you allowed to take up a side job which doesn't impact your company. आप ऐसा side job नहीं ले सकते हो which conflicts with your company. So Ed, you're done with fifth.
Yes.
Yes. 6.
But I have a question. If Ingus was not a CFA and just a trader or an employee, so he wouldn't have violated it.
The
Because
questions will be mostly based on CFA. Because see, the whole curriculum is as a CFA person how it should be. Even if he was a person, as we frame कर सकता है, who is studying L1, so he or she is supposed to know everything about the standards. So this standards पे था ना कि members and candidates.
Yeah.
It applies to members as well as the candidates.
I think the second sentence.
Green Brothers, an emerging market fund manager, has two of its subsidiaries simultaneously buying and selling the emerging market stocks. They are artificially creating that volume for that stock.
Oh, they're artificially created.
Yeah, they have two subsidiaries. I guess one subsidiary is buying the stock, other one is selling the stock.
Oh.
तो वो डिमांड एंड सप्लाई पूरा वो इम्पैक्ट कर रहा है वो.
So
B. So we're done for today.